All right, let's jump right in. If you've ever set foot in a chem lab, you've probably done a titration. It's one of those classic lab techniques, right? But there's this really cool mystery hiding right at its core. And today, we're going to solve it. So here's the puzzle. You're carefully dripping one totally clear liquid into another. You're waiting for this chemical reaction to finish. But the finish line itself, that exact moment of neutralization, is completely invisible. It's like trying to hit a target in a pitch-black room. So, how in the world do chemists pull this off? Well, the first part of the answer is to map out the reaction's journey. We need a way to see what's happening inside that beaker, drop by drop. And that map? It's something called a pH curve.
So let's imagine a classic matchup, a strong acid, say hydrochloric acid, going up against a strong base like sodium hydroxide. And if we were to track the pH with every single drop we add, we get this graph. This is our secret map, and it tells us the entire story of what's happening.
Now, as we first start adding that acid, take a look. Yeah, the pH is going down, but it's super slow, right? It's almost flat. You'd think not much is going on, but trust me, don't be fooled. Something big is about to happen. And then, boom, this is it, the moment everything changes. I mean, just look at these numbers. After adding almost 25 cubic centimeters of acid, the pH is still way up there at 11.3. But then, you add just a tiny fraction more, we're talking 0.2 of a cubic centimeter, that's like a drop. And the pH just nosedives all the way down to 2.7. It's a huge drop.
Yeah, we're not talking about a gentle slope here. This is, and I quote, a really steep plunge. It's not a change, it's a chemical freefall. Just to put a number on that craziness, that's a pH drop of 8.6, all from what's basically a single drop from the burette. It's just an unbelievably sensitive and dramatic point in this whole process. Okay, so this is the key. That steep drop, that's everything. It's the big climax in our chemical story. It's the X that marks the spot on our treasure map. This is how we find that invisible target. But like any good story, what happens when you introduce a plot twist? What if we change up the characters? Because, not all acids and bases are the same. Some of them are, well, weak. And that changes everything.
So yeah, what happens then? What if you've got a strong acid and a weak base? Or the other way around? Does our map, that pH curve, still look the same? Let's see. And whoa, does the story change? Look at this. Suddenly, you get these kind of flat parts called buffer regions, where the pH just digs its heels in and resists changing. And get this, the finish line itself actually moves. For strong acid and weak base, the big drop happens in acidic territory, below a pH of 7. But for a weak acid and a strong base, it's over on the basic side, somewhere between a pH of 8 and 9.
So what's the deal with this buffer region? Well, it's what happens when you have a mix of, for instance, a weak acid and its salt. They team up, like a chemical dynamic duo, and they soak up the extra acid or base you're adding. That's why the pH just holds steady for a bit, creating those flat plateaus on our map. Okay, but what if you mix a weak acid with a weak base? Well, the whole story just kind of fizzles out. That dramatic, steep plunge we were relying on, it's gone. Poof. You just get this gentle slope. And that makes these titrations a real headache to track. All right, so we've got our map, that pH curve. We know exactly where the climax of the reaction is. But you can't see a graph in a beaker, right? We need a signal. We need a chemical flare gun that goes off and says, hey, you're here. So that's the next piece of our puzzle. How do we take the info from our invisible map and turn it into something we can actually see? Well, the answer comes from a special group of chemicals called indicators. So what even is an indicator, really? At its heart, it's just a special kind of weak acid. Let's call it HIN for short. And here's the magic trick. The acid form, the HIN, is one color, and its partner, the base form, IN-, is a totally different color. Let's make this real. Take methyl orange, for example. In a really acidic solution, the chemical balance gets shoved to one side, and the whole thing looks red. But if you're in a basic solution, the balance shifts all the way to the other side, and now it's yellow. And what about right in the middle? You guessed it. You get a mix of both red and yellow, which looks orange. Okay, we've got the map, the pH curve, and we've got the signal, the indicator. Now it's time to put it all together. This is the moment we solve the mystery for good. And here it is, the golden rule. It's so simple, but it is absolutely everything. An indicator only works, if its color change happens during that big steep plunge on the pH curve. You have to match the signal to the story, period.
Okay, let's see this in action. Remember our strong acid-weak base reaction? Its steep drop happens in the acidic zone, right around a pH of 4 to 6. Now look at methyl orange. Where does it change color? Between a pH of 3.1 and 4.4. It's a perfect overlap.
I mean, come on, that's a perfect match. As the pH takes that nosedive, it blasts right through the methyl orange color change zone. And what do you see? A super sharp, super obvious color change from red to yellow. Our invisible target is suddenly lit up in bright colors. But what if we messed up? What if we use that same methyl orange for our weak acid strong base titration? Well, remember, its steep plunge is way, way up in the basic range, around pH 8 to 10. The indicator is down here, changing color around pH 4. The two ranges, they're not even in the same zip code. Yeah, the color would have changed ages ago, long before the actual important part of the reaction even starts. It's a complete and total mismatch. Useless.
So that's the whole ballgame right there. It's not just about grabbing any old indicator off the shelf. You have to be a bit of a chemical detective. You have to know the story of your reaction, you have to know what its pH curve looks like, and then you pick the indicator whose own little story, its color change, happens right at the climax.
And that's it. Mystery solved. It's such a cool example of how chemists use these fundamental principles to make the invisible visible. And it kind of makes you wonder, right? What other invisible processes are happening all around us, just waiting for the right tool, the right signal to bring them out into the light?